Hello everyone, my name is Navé, and I've gotten a couple comments asking how to make my game look like this. And the truth of the matter is actually this is just like video editing that I'm doing. I think people are just asking like if I can make a PAL mod, and I plan on doing that pretty soon. But it'd be kind of interesting to make like a video talking about like the editing process, how to make visuals like this in Sony Vegas. So I'm gonna be doing that today. So let's first talk about the program that I use. I use Sony Vegas 19, I believe. Yeah, Sony Vegas 19. Gonna wait for it to open up. But the first thing that I think about when I think about like my videos, and especially like the art direction, is like what inspires me and what do I want to do with that. And for me, a lot of it is inspired by like a lot of 90s kind of like grunge advertisements and stuff like that. I think about like Jet Set Radio. I really like the thick outlines. I really like the like vibrant colors and stuff like that, especially on like art like this. I really appreciate just like the colorfulness, the like sticking to maybe like one or two colors, like right here. This is just Machine Girls though, so just really like the dark colors combined with like a lot of the dark like shadings combined with a lot of the colors. This is really cool. That's like one main inspiration that I get. There's a lot of like 2000s like hip hop album art that like are sometimes like really dark and like only have one color, like that. Like this, Master P, The Last Dawn. This is kind of epic. But one of the biggest inspirations is the Samurai Champloo intro. Like this shit is so cool to me. Like I just really love the like mixed media, really love the colors, especially the things right here. I really like the lack of colors and only thing like with one. I think that's really cool. So actually this is pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and put in a clip of me and my friend Gavin playing. Oh, this is somebody else then. Oh, this is shout out to Jaded for this clip. We were playing a lot and it was pretty cool to play against this person, so thank you so much to that person. So on my, I have like a, like I guess you can call it a personal Discord, or you want to call it, I call it like my arts Discord, where I have a like, or I keep a kind of list of things that I want to put in my video. So I also put it in a folder, but I'll get to that in just a second. So this is Sony Vegas. Obviously, I have it automatically set, but it's good to review it. So this is the timeline. These are the audio tracks. There's actually two audio tracks, one for the game and one for my microphone. I keep it separate so that I can just have the gameplay going if I just want to have the gameplay right. This is the timeline. This is where you keep the videos. This is where the video is placed, where you can preview the video. Depending on your hardware, you're going to want to have it. This is a very simple like. I don't put a lot of like intensive things in, effects in my videos, so I'm able to put it at best. So I right click on the video on the preview itself. There are different things. I don't really like adjust. I don't really like focus on this stuff too much. Go to preview quality, and depending on like I said your hardware. Draft like auto will just give you like a rough like guesstimate of like what it looks like. I like to use this. Like to use this when I have really long projects or really intensive projects for like timing and stuff like that. But I usually either have it on good or best depending on what I'm doing, and go to auto. The auto will do like the most optimal use of your equipment, but I like to go for full, just so I can get the hang of it, you know. So we're gonna double click on the timeline. This is the timeline right here, this like gray spot. I'm gonna double click to get everything. I'm going to right click, loop playback, so that when it goes all the way over here, it's like that. After that, we're going to go to File, Properties, and this is going to show the video properties and everything. I don't really touch the stuff right here, like the audio ruler. I don't touch all that stuff. What is important to me is like the video template, and I have a custom one. So like, for example, like it will, like, let's say we have this. If these are like the settings the presets I want to go for, that's okay, you know. But I don't really, I want to have 1080p by 1920 and then 60 FPS. I already have that, and I'm gonna go for like the closest one here. So I guess this would be this one, and this is be like 1080p. So 1080p 1920. That is the like default for like 1080p video on YouTube. This stuff is not super important except for right here. I want to have 60 FPS, so I'm gonna go here, 60 FPS. Pixel format can be changed a little if you want. Like the full range is just like, or 8-bit full range is gonna look, make it look like this. But I believe if you go to like 32, like full range, it's gonna be more colorful. Oh, something went wrong. Give me 1 second. Oh, 1920 by 1080. Or I don't know what happened there. That was scary. I don't know what the fuck happened there. It was really scary. Anyways, so yeah, right here I have 1920, 1080. I don't know if you want to follow these like exact parameters and stuff like that, but this is what I have. For Sony Vegas especially, you are going to want to do like let's do best motion type blur. It doesn't really matter because we're not gonna have it. What's the most important, one of the most important things actually is the disable resampling. I've had it on for like I remember when I first started doing like video editing and stuff like that, I had it on and it completely like fucked over like how everything looked on my end. And so now that I have it off, I no longer have it. Disable resampling. Let me see if I can actually find a video, because I remember one of my Dragon Ball fight. Well, first of all, like this was already not 1080p because it was downloaded off of YouTube. There's a little bit of like weird, at least when I was like working on the video, there was like a weird like choppiness of it, and it completely ruined the entire flow because it was using too many resources. So we disable that already. Okay, now that the properties is done, we can go into the art direction. And this is maybe like a little bit contentious because like I feel like a lot of fighting game videos out there or fighting game content is just content. I think a lot of people who upload like fighting game videos are just like content creators and not really artists, and I want to change that. I feel like a lot of people just have a lot of videos people just don't really have very interesting like art direction when it comes to the videos. There are people like Brian M who I really enjoy because like his videos are like really coolly like edited, and there's like a theme with his videos and art direction, a style even, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool, and I want to stand out like him. Not that I'm like directly inspired by him, but I like the fact that he is doing something different. So I was like, well, how do I make myself stand out, and how do I push the boundaries of this space, you know? So what I decided to do was just like create really like really for lack of better words, like really ugly videos, really like highly edited videos with a lot of colors and stuff like that. Like this video. Like the colors maybe aren't like the most like coherent or best, but I'm like, people are going to say something, people are going to have an emotional reaction to it, and honestly any emotional reaction to it is, or any emotional reaction is a good reaction, you know. I'm pushing the envelope somewhere no one has really done before, at least as far as I've seen. And you know, like if you got to start out with like, especially as an artist, you're gonna fail. You're just gonna have to pick up like the broken pieces of like your failed art and kind of go from there. You're gonna be like, what worked and what didn't work, right? And what worked is like the colors. Some people I really like the way that Alex looks with like the white pants and like the singular colored of the headband. So I decided to work with that. And this is partially what and these are the effects that I use partially for that look. So on Sony Vegas, there are two ways to add effects to like a single to some video. You can either do the singular clip or you can do the entire track. I'll just show you how to do it on the clip. Right click, go to media, and then it will take you to this page. And this is all the effects you can have on here. I already have mine, which are in this Jamie folder, because I did it for like I originally had these for Street Fighter 6. And you can do that, but what I like to do is actually for the track effects, right? Because let's say these are like 3 different tracks, and like let's say for example I went to like color curves and like levels. You don't have to follow along right here, but let's say I do this. Compare how this looks to how this looks. The highlights and the levels are going to look completely different from this clip to this clip, or even like this clip, which is a better example. They're just going to be they're going to look completely different. One of them is a little more vibrant and one of them is colorful. The other one's a little more dull and more attuned to the original art direction of the game. To bypass like having to like copy and paste everything every single time, you're gonna go to these border here, left click, go to track effects, and then put in the effects that you want. For me, I want to do brightness and contrast first. I'll get into these like the order. For me, I want to do brightness and contrast first. The way that this program works for the plugins and the effects, it goes left first and then right at the very end. So I want the brightness and contrast to affect first, then the levels. After that, we're gonna go to color corrector. I'll explain what these do in a second. Saturation adjust and color curves, which I'll get into just a second. We press OK. So these are all the ones that we have for the videos I do. And boom. Now you might think that there wasn't too much of like an effect of a difference, but there is a difference, which I'll they'll cause greater differences later on. So I already have presets for these. For example, Alex Bright, Alex Levels, Alex Color, I believe, Alex Red, etc., etc. But I'll get into those in just a second. We're gonna go one by one and show you exactly what these do. So the brightness, obviously, color effects is the brightness. Contrast, it's like that, shows off a little more contrast, and actually don't really know how to explain contrast, but that's there. Contrast center. So for this, we're gonna be doing a new one. We're gonna be doing a new like brightness and contrast. So we're gonna call this one, we're gonna call it like editing or tutorial. So let's say for example I want to edit this Alex clip. I'm like, I want to go for darker shadows, right? I want to go for darker shadows. So maybe we can like up the brightness and up the contrast so that the shadows are a little more intense. There you go. The shadows are a little more intense, and the bright colors are like popping out a little bit more. Let's say if I'm like, it's a little like too intense, so I want to like soften it. I can go here to the contrast center and like adjust it ever so slight. So now that the colors pop out a little bit more, and the shadows are still pretty intense, but they're not too intense. Now we can see these in motion. You're like, okay, this is like pretty okay. It's a little too intense still. You do something like this. Small adjustments make a really big differences. And now here's the default for levels. For my Alex one, it's a little bit of difference. You can actually see with the moon where the differences pop out. So here's default. Look at the moon. There's Alex levels. Default. Alex levels. The smaller details kind of disappear. That's okay. So maybe we can like adjust the input, adjust the end, and like, oh, that's actually a little too much. Oh, that's negative. That's kind of cool. That's too much for me. I don't really like that. Oh, that's a little too bright. I don't really want that, you know? Again, this is for me and my aesthetic. If you actually really love the way that this like negative looks and you want to like make it pop out even more, like let's say we want to do this, right? Let's take this chance and try to make something interesting. Let's say you like this negative way more and you want to make it work. Cool. Let's figure out how to do it, you know? Maybe it's like, oh, that's not good. The gamma is not where we want to go because it makes it unreadable. No gamma though is not good because all the colors are dark. If we are at 1, then we want to do a little dark so we can actually see what's going on. And we want to move on to like, and we were okay with this, you know, we were satisfied. Let's go on to color corrector secondary. So this one is actually kind of complicated to understand at first if you have no one really explaining it. Let me actually go back to, I'm gonna adjust these so we can actually look at what we're seeing. Okay, so color corrector is what I use to create these this like washed out colors, but only a singular, like in the Samurai Champloo opening that we saw here. And that's caused by a handful of things. So, okay, we're actually going to look through it one by one with everything already there and explain it as we go. So, we can start from the top. So, rotation, these are the settings that I have. Here, let me show you guys. If you want to follow along, these are the settings that I have. If you want to copy and paste them, we can go ahead and look at the settings one after another together. I'm going to rotation hue, and you can actually see that this doesn't really do too much because we have everything mostly doing the work at the bottom right here. Saturation adjusts the saturation of everything. I have that pretty low down or down low because I want to focus more on a singular color. There's gamma, which highlights shadows and stuff like that. Kind of like this right here. The gain talks about like kind of like the brightness and colors, the brightness of everything. I'm gonna do here. I like that. Refers to like the black and white of everything. I keep that at 0 at all times because I don't really want to mess around with that too much. The alpha is also black and white for black. Here we go. Here's the interesting part. We have the luminance, which is every color except for the one that we highlighted, which is kind of like a red and purple one right here, because you can actually see the gi of Akuma. It stays the same, but everything else darkens. Here's the high. I usually keep this pretty like high, just because I don't really want the other colors to like pop out, and only these, right? I don't really know what smooth this does. It doesn't really interest me that too much. I keep pretty much every single setting the same for luminance and saturation because they're kind of doing the same job, at least in this content. You can actually see as I turn it up on the low, they both kind of like have the same like job. Now the limit hue is where things get interesting, because like, if we go like that, this actually does the job of prominence. Typically, like right here, the rotation hue references like different colors, like the brown, the blue, the yellow, etc. It chooses where that center is. Like, oh, we're gonna focus more on the reds. We're gonna be focusing more on like the greens. We're gonna be focusing more on like the oranges, etc., etc. Right here with the limit hue and the center set knob, or the center slider, with the center slider, we're focusing where we want to have the colors pop out more. For example, we go all the way to the left and we have the yellows pop out more. We go more from yellow to green. We have the greens, green, blues. We have Alex's like headband going up, etc., etc. So actually we really want to have that purple, which is 490. That's the color we want to have right there. And then, so moving on to the width is actually how much we want to like allow to pop out. So this is also kind of talking about like the colors we want of the color spectrum we want to pop out, because like this like violet is pretty close to red, and so you can actually see more of like a washed out red coming from Akuma's headband. Let me actually do something. I'm going to talk about like this a little bit later, but we're going to just zoom in for real quick to like talk about colors and stuff. So you can actually see, if we focus more on the purple and nothing but the purple gi is shown, the red is gone, but a little bit of the blue is still there because of his pants. Alex's skin with this color, with all of these effects on here, is red, so that causes his skin to be red. So if we allow more of the width to be expanded, you can actually see more of the blue coming out. After the blue is going to be more of like greens, you can see in the background, and then yellows. We really want that. We want to keep it right here. But if we go too much to the width, we actually see nothing. So this is like what I find to be like the perfect spot. And let's say this is like in a different settings right here. If you want, I don't know, let's say you want maybe like the yellows right here to pop out more. You want the yellows of this train to pop out more, you can go here and choose where you want the focus to be on more. And then the smoothness refers to, I guess, just like this transition to smoothness, or the gradient from like gray to like whatever color. The gradient is, the smoothness is at 15, but let's put a little higher because we want to have less smoothness and more like a singular. This is what it looks like. So that's how I get the colors. This is how I get the colors of everything, but there's still like the issue of like, oh, it still looks a little like weird, still doesn't look completely finished. So we're gonna pause it and maybe like go back to our track effects, and we still work on the saturation adjust. Refers to just like how bright colors are going to look in here. I'm super like a color person. I just kind of go off like what colors I like and what I like to do. But I know that saturation adjustments will allow colors to like pop out more. Like for example, look at Alex's neck. Let me actually show you. Okay, cool. Look at Alex's neck right here. When I turn up the amount of saturation, go from like no red to like a lot of red. Maybe that's what we want, you know. Once again, this refers to like where in the sensor refers to we want to focus on for like colors and stuff like that. Let's have it like this. I like that amount. The spread refers to how much is allowed to be, how much red is allowed to be spread across the area. Like look at Alex's neck. When we go from 0 to all the way, I like all the way. Low refers to like the lower end of the red spectrum, how much we want, and the high refers to obviously the high. Let's make Alex kind of red, like a lobster. I like that. Then we have color curves. This is what I used to do a lot of, but now like I'm kind of cautious about it because it's kind of an extreme like effect. Because like, oh, you can have like warmer colors, you can have like reduced contrast, but then one of my favorite ones is actually the negative shadows, because it causes it to look like this. I'm actually safe. I should have been saying this from the very beginning. Tutorial 1. You should be saving your projects like all the time. You should be saving your projects all the time. Yeah, there have been like the big Alex project that I did, which was like an hour and a half long or some shit like that. Yeah, the negative shadow is like honestly kind of cool. I really like it, but I'm still trying to work on like how to work this and how to make it like not sickening to like look at, you know. Like I said, some people really like it. I really like it, but some people really fucking hate it, and those people are lame as fuck, honestly. This is kind of what I have. Put it back to default. I don't really use it, and actually in this here you can actually see that I have color curves off, and we're like, I don't really want that. This is how I get it for that's how I get it for Alex, or this like color right here. This is how I get it. That's how I get it this color. And actually, if you want to, you can totally like take it if you want. Like I actually really don't mind, because like I don't understand gatekeeping and stuff like that. When it comes to like showing off like how to do art, it's really weird to do stuff like that. All that I ask for you is just like make it look cool, make it look like you know. Make it, do something unique with it. You know, I like I said earlier, one of the reasons why I decided to do something this extreme with like colors and like the artistic choice and stuff like that, because I think the fighting game community is kind of like, it's like artistically like kind of boring. Like the artists within it are really cool. They are so fantastic. Some of my favorite like artists are just like fighting game like fans, because they're passionate about their characters. They understand what they like. They understand like the aesthetics of the characters, etc., etc. But like when it comes like that's like the visual artist, but when it comes to like the actual like they call themselves content creators, and I believe that they're content creators. When it comes to like the like video makers and YouTubers, I'm like, you guys aren't like super interesting with your art direction. Sometimes you don't need to be, but like I don't know, I'm just like, man, there's a lot of YouTubers that I just don't watch because they are just so boring to watch, you know. So I decided to go in the opposite direction. I almost got it right there. If you want to, so anyways, if you want to copy the settings that I use for like, I'm gonna do tutorial for Alex. I'll call it this, because actually, really, I kind of like how this looks. You see, like maybe this isn't what I'm going to use, but it's gonna work on for later. You know, always evolve your art. That's another thing. Always evolve your art. If you want to copy what I use for Alex, these are the same for the brightness and contrast. Looks a little weird right now, but that's okay. These are the levels that I use for Alex. You can actually see that like there's like I think there's like an even amount of like gradient from like black to gray, and there's also like a pretty even gradient when it comes to like the reds and stuff like that. You can see it's Alex's skin, but also like the pink to red of Akuma's skin. I think that's kind of interesting. Here's what I have for it's a little darker, and in fact I actually prefer this one, but if you want to copy the ones I have for Alex by default, this is what I have. Gonna give you a second to beautiful people to pause. I do kind of like this one a little bit more, actually. That's kind of interesting. But let's go with the Alex red, and then we're gonna go to like that. This is what I use for saturation for Alex. Yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I kind of prefer what we did for this tutorial. Like I really like the subtle the coloring a little bit more. You see, this is of like changing your art and experimenting a lot. Cause like I really like how this looks, and I used to like how this color looked, but honestly, I kind of preferred this a little bit more. And you know what? Let's go around and find out. Let's look at the color groups. Maybe this is better for negative shadows. I said maybe. Turn it off. But yeah, this is what I have for this video. If you guys enjoyed watching it and you want to maybe have more videos like this, let me know. I can talk more about like how I like to edit videos, how I like to create like the compilations for you guys. There's actually this tutorial Brian M did. There's actually a tutorial that Brian M did that I really like, which is making the 3D like making sprites look 3D. And after watching it, I was like, oh wait, I kind of understand how to do this in Sony Vegas. So if you guys want to watch some of that, just let me know, and I will do this after I come back from vacation, because I'm going to be gone this weekend, and this is why there's gonna be no stream. Hopefully it will be a stream or tomorrow or something like that, because I'm recording this on Wednesday. But yeah, okay, I'm gonna just get down now, everyone. Goodbye. Shout out to Brian M for being a really cool YouTuber and having really cool aesthetics. This shit's like so fucking cool. I'm a little jealous. I'm a little jealous, but you know, jealousy which pushes me to create better art for you and for myself, really. Okay, bye.